6 AI agents, each built with a unique edge. Miko, AI, Team Leader. Ori AI, Fundamental Analyst. XAUUSD, AI, Technical Analyst. Mesa, AI, Risk Management Specialist. Fenwa, AI Market Sentiment Analyst. And Naledi AI, the cryptocurrency expert. Together, they're engineered to protect, guide, and transform your trading. The future of trading is here. Experience Zentrix AI.
Okay, what's up people? Welcome back to another live stream. Hope everyone is doing well. As always guys, if you're enjoying the content, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and of course make sure you do go and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. As always, we've got a bunch of markets to get through. We had a very eventful week last week. It's a bit more relaxed this week, but still some interesting events to keep an eye on. If you do have any particular requests, pairs you're looking at, trades you're in or looking to enter, I want to discuss, chuck it in the chat and we shall have a look. I'll start with the USD as always, start with the DXY, USD majors, and then progress through gold and silver. Probably have a quick scan of my watches for the week as well. And particularly interested in pound yen shorts today. I'm not too sure if I'll get the setup, but that's where my focus is, at least for today, especially intraday as well. So we'll get into it, but make sure you drop a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. So we'll start with the dollar. Excuse me. So DXY has been pretty strong, at least it was pretty strong coming into the week from last week, of course, but today itself has started off pretty bearish and not too surprising. Based on where price is trading, we are in an area where I can definitely see some sellers entering the market. You can see we had a brief pause here and we had a pretty aggressive move to the downside, and this actually swept the prior lows as well. So this is an area where I do expect to see sellers step in. We have successful lower highs in this area as well. Perhaps the market could be looking at another one. That could be a big possibility. I'm not quite convinced. I'm not so much looking to swing DXY back to lows and further this week. The reason that is because we have already taken out this low. So the reason I'm expecting USD to fall is to go and take out this low. Now, since we have already done that last week, I don't really have as much confidence to back up this swing. Yes, the market is bearish. Yes, we're very consistent with all these lower highs. At the same time, I like to have an area which I'm expecting the market to take out or go retest. Don't really have that advantage anymore. So yes, we are trading in an area where sellers are likely to enter the market, maybe buyers taking some profit. So I do think we can have a reaction, but I'm not as confident for the big swing as I was in previous weeks here for the DXY. Of course, looking at intraday time frames, if I drop to the hourly chart, I can see how corrective we're looking. So it looks like momentum is clearly fatiguing, and we could probably see some downside. Now, would I look to short DXY now, especially for a lower time frame kind of point of view? No, not really. We just come back into support. I wouldn't suggest this is the best place to be shorting. Perhaps another run back to highs, that could be a nice place to short. Bit more aggressive, but you can position yourself well because the market starts to run out of steam, and you can see these lower highs or higher highs forming, but with less momentum and clearing the highs, clearing the previous high by less distance. So I can see we're kind of becoming a bit more corrective. So perhaps another run back to the highs could be the better place to position yourself for a short. Of course, being in this area of supply as well, and perhaps taking advantage of a move lower. I think trying to enter now is a little bit late to the party, and you do run the risk of price having that pullback and just going straight into drawdown as well. So if you are short bias on the dollar, this is kind of how I see it. And same thing with euro dollar as well. This one, if I expand to the 4-hour chart, you can see is pulling back into some nice areas support. Prior demand levels, price has been pretty consistent with the higher lows. You can see with that trend line there. So basically mimicking what the DXY has been doing, but just flipped, of course. This could be potentially another higher low. But for the same reasons why I'm not so keen on taking DXY lower is the same reasons why I'm not looking to take euro dollar higher, because of course price has already ripped through the highs. Now I'm kind of looking for the next phase. Is this just a pullback for price to continue the trend, or perhaps are we hitting a top? We had a very aggressive wick rejection last weekly candle. You can see that piercing wick to the upside. Markets pull back down pretty aggressively. Not really what I want to see from a trend that I'm expecting to continue, or that I still want to see some strength. We're not quite seeing that. Of course, we could still feel the wick. That's a possibility, but it's nothing of high quality, of high confidence that I would say, yep, I'm just expecting euro to continue. So I'm being a bit cautious again with buying EURUSD this week as well. Yes, we are testing a nice area, and that's a nice 4-hour candle close. My concern is not so much about the area I do think we're likely to bounce. My question is at how far do we potentially move? Is it more of a push to form a lower high and come back down? Do we rip back to prior highs, retest it, or do we create new highs? I'm not so confident with that. So therefore, I'm kind of backing away with euro dollar for now. But again, really nice run to the highs this morning. Again, would you really want to be looking to buy now? I think it's a little bit late to the party. So I would suggest another sell-off could be a smart opportunity to enter back at lows, get a refined entry with a refined stop loss, and probably maximize your risk to reward and just generally be in a better location to take advantage of that buy. So yeah, euro definitely in a nice place for a buy, definitely in a smart area to look for long opportunities. I would just suggest maybe waiting for another dip back into lows. I think buying here is a little bit late, and I could see price rolling back over and potentially going straight into drawdown there. So that's where my focus would be if I was looking to buy euro. But yeah, I'm kind of just being a bit more cautious. Pound, on the other hand, I quite like this one. I like the shorts on pound USD, really aggressive, bearish move last week. We had the Fed interest rate and then the pound interest rate, and that just caused pound USD to slide like no tomorrow lower. And we've taken out some key lows as well. And most importantly, price had a breakout of this key resistance level last week, but we came straight back in that range. So this looks to me like a big fake out. Price try to see the breakout, try to get back to highs there on the left around 1.38. Didn't have the energy for it. Massive wick rejection there, and momentum came crashing back down. So the way I see pound USD now is we're likely to have somewhat of a correction and then continue to sell off and potentially come back to lows here. So I'm pretty bearish on pound USD this week. This is definitely one of the pairs I'm keeping a close eye on. However, I need a pullback before I do start shorting it. So I don't see the shorts happening today. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. Around then we might see some opportunities, but I think it's still a little bit too early for me to start be looking to short pound. But that is very much the plan. Fake to the upside, convincing bearish move. Now looking for a pullback and more downside. So if I scale a little bit lower, of course you can see some strength coming into play at the moment. So again, not really the time or place to be shorting. I mentioned this area as a really nice place for a short. So perhaps if we can have a nice corrective pullback back into that area, potentially some shorts could line up really well at that area. Lower high, on we go. I even would like a pullback all the way back to test the key level. Resistance once, twice, a third time briefly. Of course, that's our fake out. I wouldn't mind a retest of that. And then looking for entries at that level, stops above the high, and hoping to potentially capitalize on a swing back to the low of the range. That would be a really nice opportunity, especially the risk reward. If I can really time the entries well, that could be a very nice swing. So either of those areas has definitely piqued my interest, and now I'm just patiently waiting to get an opportunity in and around those areas. So some nice strength this morning for pound. I do think this is just likely a pullback in play. Of course, I wouldn't start shorting just yet, but I'm not interested in taking pound USD higher, and that is initially where my focus will be. So we'll see how we get on. But pound USD shorts is something I'm keeping a close eye on. Dollar CAD's been interesting. This one's been back and forth, very, very bearish towards the end of the week. We had some CAD news, which we did see some CAD strength come into the market, so a really aggressive move down. However, no real conviction. Price did drop pretty hard, but now we've seen successive bullish candles there. So it's like the momentum has almost never happened there. So I would just suggest that dollar CAD, if you want to keep things really, really simple with dollar CAD and not overcomplicate things, I would just say price is in a consolidation here. The smart move would be waiting for price to kind of break out or show momentum in a particular direction. Then we can look for pullbacks of that move. So let's say if price starts to pick up some momentum, we break out, well, then this opportunity becomes a lot clearer. Likewise, if you can break through this support level, whether we're looking for a retest or a pullback somewhere else, that becomes a lot clearer as well. Just in terms of direction, because I would still say if you're focused on this area, dollar CAD is a little bit 50-50 at the moment. I do have a bearish bias for dollar CAD because of this key level on the weekly chart. Really significant level of resistance, which price is still trading below. As long as we do trade below that, I do think eventually price will have a really aggressive move down. However, we do need to get that momentum going. And I'm not so willing anymore to be shorting the middle. I mean, I could potentially try and look for an opportunity if I can see some signs of a lower high forming. So we've got one over there, second over there. Potentially I might have a stab at that this week. I did mention this area here last week. Potentially I might look for a push to the highs and then a short. This would be a little bit more of an aggressive trade. Like I said, I kind of view this as consolidation. So it's not optimal conditions. It's not like this low create a new low. So it's not like we've got bearish structure at play like that. It's an equal low. So it's not as high probability, but I may give it a stab depending how the candlesticks form and the entry and things look good. Even if I can just catch a reaction off that area and price makes a move halfway, I can probably lock in some gains there. Move stops the break even. So if price does want to fluctuate and mess around, I'll still walk away with at least a break even, maybe a small win. But of course, if price does drop, well, it could be a much bigger trade. So I might give it a go. We'll see how the week does develop. But I am still very short biased because of that weekly level. So as long as we stay below that, I do think price can fall. And if you take a look at Aussie dollar, I quite like the shorts as well for this one. Really convincing move lower last week. As you can see, price is now back below that major high to our left. Again, I'm not quite convinced with this uptrend, so I haven't really been looking to try and buy Aussie dollar. This is a really corrective up move. We did see some strength, yes, breaking to the upside and creating some new highs there, but I'm not really interested in following this trend. It's really, really corrective, not really seeing much momentum. And scaling to the weekly chart as well, we've just closed back below that high there. Maybe the trend does continue, but it's not a trend which I will be looking to try and trade. I'll rather try and go against this because of how corrective it is. So I am looking at some shorts intraday. Of course, I have to be careful because the trend is still up and there's still some areas below us here, which I can see price potentially finding support and bouncing. But my kind of plan of action for Aussie dollar is, since we're really corrective right now, not seeing much momentum, I kind of want to see price maybe break to the upside, start to struggle, and then fall over. Then that becomes my trading opportunity. Looking basically for the next lower high. So there's one over there, create the new low. I'm anticipating this to be the low. And then I'm looking for the next lower high, and then that's my short opportunity. So yeah, Aussie dollar, I'm looking at some downside, maybe even price coming back to retest the prior high. That would be a nice confidence for the trade. Still maybe a couple days away from that trade actually forming. And I'm not looking for anything crazy. Like I said, this is an area which I have to watch out for. We could easily find support and continue higher. So at the very best, maybe that level would be my target. But yeah, Aussie dollar still keen on a move lower. New Zealand dollar, again, really aggressive move to the downside. I did say I'm keeping an eye out for some buying opportunities here, but this was really aggressive Thursday, Friday, which is something I didn't want to see. I mean, we had a really aggressive move initially, but I was hoping for us to kind of lose momentum, become a bit more corrective, but that wasn't the case. So going with New Zealand dollar, especially going into today at least, I do think we'll have at least a bit of a pullback. Price is still respecting this prior low, which of course kick-started this bullish move to create highs. So I do think this is still bullish territory, an area where buyers will be looking to enter, perhaps sellers taking profit after a very nice move back into lows. So I do think naturally we'll have a nice bounce. I also really like this 4-hour candle close, piercing wick to the low, pull back up. I do think we're likely to break higher. So similar to Aussie dollar, I do think this will see some upside, but again, I do think maybe a lower high does form and we come back down. I personally do prefer Aussie dollar and how that looks, so I will focus more of my efforts there. But perhaps a pullback into this kind of area, maybe retesting this high on the left. That could be an area for a short, perhaps somewhat of a head and shoulder pattern, not your most orthodox pattern, but it does fit the mold, kind of. So I push back into this area. But if you're looking for longs, this would be the area I would be interested in. If you're looking for shorts, my focus would be higher up around 0.591. And in terms of gold, looking pretty bullish from short. Yeah, just create new highs. 37.50 will be the next big psychological level. We're not too far away from that at the moment. So difficult really to do much with gold. We had a lovely breakout out this channel right before the week closed. I think that was, yeah, Friday afternoon. So really nice breakout on that candle, and price has just been looking bullish since then. Lovely retest of this demand zone here. So the next opportunity would again be another pullback. I say everything's looking pretty bullish right now. I like this area here. Brief pause, again, a really strong commanding candle to the upside. I would suggest the pullback to that area would look good. Of course, depends on the pullback and how we react in those areas, but that's something I'll keep a close eye on. But 3750 is my next big level, because if you look at the big psych levels between 3K to 4K, you got 3K, and then of course 3,000, 3,500, 3,500, and then 4K. And then if you split those in two, then you get 3250 and 3750. So that's why I do think this is a big area to keep an eye on. But yeah, momentum's very strong. I would suggest intraday pullbacks and just looking to buy the dips. I wouldn't be concerned about shorts for gold. I think it's way too aggressive. And likewise with silver, flying to the upside. 45 is a pretty big level, not too far away. That's probably where we're headed towards as well for silver. And again, looking intraday, perhaps maybe a retest of the high would be nice. But yeah, difficult to gauge. Even if I dropped like a 15-minute chart. Actually, no, 15-minute chart will be becoming a little bit more corrective now. So maybe that's a sign that we're going to get a deeper pullback soon. But yeah, silver, I'll keep an eye on retest. This looks nice if you can get a pullback there. But 45 is where I'm expecting the next big checkpoint to be. So very bullish gold, very bullish silver. USD, a bit of a mixed bag. I got some USD pairs which I'm keeping a close eye on. And we'll probably go into a bit more detail later in the stream as well. And of course, pound yen is also a pair which I'm very much interested for a short as well. But what is up, Rexis? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Lebsy, what is up? Welcome to the stream. Pound Aussie. Yep, we can take a look at that as well. Okay, nice. Took a short intraday. Okay, we'll have a look. Michelle, good morning. Matta, good morning. US oil. Okay, we'll take a look. First, let me just quickly go through the perps platform quickly. The competition on the platform is still open to participate in. So if you are interested, drop your email here using this link. And again, it's just a bit of fun. So if you are interested to participate, there will be some cash prizes for best performing traders on the challenge. But if you're not aware, this is the platform under Zentrix, which is a project we've been working on, and it allows you to trade perps. At the moment, there's a bunch of different cryptocurrencies you can go through and trade. There will be FX, commodities, indices, other markets added to the platform very soon. You can connect via any Ethereum or Solana wallet. And if you don't have, you can also use an email, but I would recommend to go and get a crypto wallet to use the platform to its fullest. And you can trade on a demo server, live server as well. So there's no rush, there's no commitment. You can go test out the platform with test USDC, and then of course live if you want to go later. But this is a platform, again, like every other trading platform. You can manage trades well, buy, sell, manage your stop loss, take profits, scale into positions, scale out positions. And we do have a very impressive AI feature to the platform as well, which does risk assessment, looks at sentiment analysis, will provide 4-hour opportunities as well. So a bit of guidance or extra assistance for the analysis and looking to trade the platform as well. So if you are interested, we are running a competition on the platform. There will be cash prizes for the best performing traders. So I do recommend to check it out. And the link is in the chat. So check it out. Drop your email if you are interested. Anyway, guys, we'll go through pound Aussie to start with, and then we'll take a look at oil later. John, I just had a look on gold literally about 2 minutes ago. So if you scroll back 2 minutes, you'll see the analysis for gold. But at the moment, very bullish. We've seen a lot of momentum, so I would expect price to keep going. 3750 is beyond us, and I do think that's the next big target. So I'll keep things very simple, just looking for those intraday pullbacks until proven otherwise, because of course gold will have a big pullback at some point, but at the moment, just very bullish. Okay, so we'll go through pound Aussie. So you mentioned you just entered a intraday position. 2.049. Okay, let me draw it like an hourly chart. Okay, so 2.049 targets, low of the day to, okay, low of the day with stops at 20515. Okay, low of the day is down here, I'm assuming. Yeah, Monday 22nd. Okay, looking decent. I like the opportunity. Prices pull back into a nice area intraday over here. This is prior structure, high, lower high, and I assume you're anticipating another lower high forming in that area. Nice demand as supply zone, not demand zone, supply zone. Really aggressive move down, very corrective after that as well. So I quite like the fact that we've broken that because we've taken out some weaker lower highs, and perhaps that alone could help fund this move lower. Taking out some weaker highs, stopping out some early sellers, and then perhaps we do see the conviction and price coming lower. I think stops in a nice place. You could have given a bit more room and placed it above the high, but of course that would sabotage the risk reward a little bit. There's always a fine line between that. It's, you know, do you maximize win rate or do you maximize risk reward? There's no right answer really, but that would be something I would look into. But yeah, very nice place for an entry, coming back into a smart area. I like the lower highs we've taken out here as well. And I would suggest that overall, Pound Aussie is still pretty bearish. We are still seeing a lot of bearish momentum, and this bullish move does look like a big pullback. So it's not like the market is bullish or we're seeing a lot of bullish momentum. I would say the market is still very much bearish, and for the most part, we are still putting lower highs, and this perhaps could be the next one. So I think you're positioned well. I think you're taking advantage of the higher time frame momentum well as well, and targets are nothing unreasonable. Push back to the prior low. Probably are going to get back there if we are going to see, you know, that trend continue. So yeah, I don't mind this one. I like this one, Ebsy. I like the position well. Entry pretty much to the high of the wick there, so you've done very well to get the entry there. And yeah, as long as we don't take up this high, I would still say the trade's valid. But yeah, targets in a smart location. So yeah, my thoughts is I do agree. For Pound Aussie in general, I'm keeping an eye out. I'm not quite, from a swing bias anyway, I'm not quite ready to short this one yet. We're kind of just messing around at these lows. You know, price has been in a pretty big range up until now. It looked at one point we're going to get a breakout, and we may still be getting a breakout, but I want price to be a bit more convincing, break the low with a bit more momentum, a bit more distance as well. You know, well and truly clear the lows, and then I'll be happy for some short ideas, because I do think once price does make that move, there's a lot of downside for us to move into. I'll be looking for us to return at least back to some of these areas, really. 2.000, really big psychological level. I think price will be attracted towards those areas. So I'm pretty bearish Pound Aussie longer term, but I'm just waiting for a bit more of a convincing breakout of support there, which I do think we'll get eventually. But yeah, as for an intraday position, I can't knock it. Price come back to retest price support, turn resistance. If we can reject that, there is room to the downside. So I like what I'm seeing there. As for oil was looking pretty bearish last time I had a look at oil's price action. Yeah, on its way back down. So I haven't been the biggest fan of oil, just because it's been very flat. We formed equal lows down here. I was hoping price at the time would have broken through, and then I could look for opportunities to short, not necessarily the breakout, but retest and pullbacks afterwards, because I do think eventually oil can make a move back to the lows here earlier in the year, April, May time. I do think if we can break through the lows there aggressively, that's probably where oil will end up. So I'm pretty bearish on this one. We had a lovely break and retest over here, and looks like price has basically just been consolidating underneath that area. Fairly equal highs, equal lows. So really, in terms of a clear opportunity, especially from a swing bias, waiting for the break of that support level will just make things a lot clearer. Because at that point, I wouldn't be expecting us to break to the upside anymore, and the plan would just be looking to short the pullback, short the retest. As of now, we are still very much in the range, and this support level is still acting as support. So if price does get here again and reacts well, this is still a good area for a buy. You can see prior attempts to break through haven't really been successful, and if we were to get there again and react well, I do think it's another smart place for a buy. I wouldn't necessarily be looking for a big swing because I am leaning towards a bearish bias with with oil, but at least a bounce for a day. I do think that's a likely move, of course, if we show some signs of rejection. If we just break through and see a lot of force, then yeah, the plan would be looking for hopefully a retest of that structure or some pullbacks along the way. So yeah, I'm leaning towards a bearish bias with oil, but it's not quite there yet because we're still in the range. If we can break out the range, you're looking at some really nice swings. I wouldn't really be looking for intraday opportunities. It is just quite messy here. I mean, I can see an idea of maybe another up move, pullback, a lower high forms, and then a drop. You're kind of sweeping out some of these highs to our left, and then another lower high like that. So I can see that happening, but I just think conditions are very, very choppy. So the odds of this pattern playing out is a little bit lower in these conditions. So I would wait for us to start trending again, which would mean waiting for the breakout, which could take a few days, but it depends where your interest is. So yeah, pretty bearish, expecting a push back into lows. We'll see how price reacts. That will dictate the bias probably for the rest of the week. If we can bounce well, probably see a nice buy opportunity at that low. If we break out, your shorts are on, and there's a long way to go to the next big target. So could be talking about some shorts for quite some time for oil. Okay, so where are we? No problem, Rexus. Happy to help. Bashi, what's up, my man? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Appreciate it. Yeah, guys, if you're enjoying the stream, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, share, hit the bell. All that good stuff does really help out. And on pound yen printing high low on the daily, possibly. I'm not quite convinced with that. And again, my short biases are more short term as well. I'm not looking for like a long term short move with pound yen. I think price is still very awkward right now, but I can see price is trading at some significant resistance and is having some serious trouble trying to break out. If it can break out and we see a nice strong close above this on the weekly or the daily, then yeah, I'll be bullish again on pound yen and looking for a swing all the way back to highs here at 206. Because I do think once we clear this, that will be the next target. That'll be the next tradable range. So I'll be very, very bullish on pound yen at that point. But we're not quite there yet. Still fading and still seeing some aggressive wicks to the upside and a pretty nice close last week as well. So I am pretty bearish intraday, especially with the way we've closed on Friday. You can see we were fairly consistent with these high lows with those daily wicks there. But after Friday, we saw a breakout of that, a change in pattern. Price is really consistent, respecting the trend line. We get a really aggressive wick on Thursday, and then Friday, boom, close really aggressive. So I'm not going to necessarily bank on this being a higher low. It could be, because technically speaking, we haven't really broken structure. This is our low, that's our high. Technically, this is our next high low, and that's our higher high. So we do have structure that kind of forms like this, and price may look to continue, and that's perfectly fine if price does that. What I'm looking for myself intraday is a bit more of a short-term push, maybe even not even back to the lows there. I'm looking more so like maybe a 30-minute, maybe a 50-minute chart. So I'll be able to take advantage of the shorts, and if price does want to form a higher low and continue, that's fine. I'll probably be out the trade by then, or at least walking away for a small win. So yeah, pound yen may still be looking to trend high. I'm not quite convinced just yet. I wouldn't be looking to buy pound yen, that's for sure. So I would need price to break out of this or show me something, a lot of development in this area if I'm going to be looking to buy. At the moment, after that close, that is a very bearish signal to me. So dropping a little bit more intraday after price just went and broke some structure, lower time frames as well. What I'm looking for now is a bigger pullback and then some shorts, more or less anywhere around here really. basically looking at a lower high. So that's our high, that's our next high, break of structure. Now I'm looking for a lower high, push the lows, maybe a bit further, then maybe price does turn bullish. We'll have to investigate and find out. I'm not so thinking far into ahead. This is more so next 24, maybe 48 hours. So yeah, that's kind of my bias and plan with pound yen. This is probably the setup I'm focused on the most today, pound yen shorts. I do like pound USD shorts as well. I quite like having those two synchronized, pound USD and pound yen. I have a bearish bias in both of them, but I still want to see a bit more of a pullback on both of them too. A bit more on pound USD. But yeah, the way I see it, if I drop lower time frames, 30-minute chart, looks to me that price is quite flat right now. So I do think pound yen might look to run the highs here, give us a more complex, more deeper pullback. Then maybe tomorrow, maybe. I don't see happening later today. It's already 10:30. I think maybe New York will take us higher into those areas around 200, 200.1. Then maybe tomorrow, Tuesday, we might actually get the entries to take it back into lows. So that's what I'm interested with pound yen. We'll see what happens from then onwards. And of course, I'll be keeping a close eye on how we move. If I see aggressive behavior like this, that might put me off the position. But if it's nice, slow, and corrective, I'm definitely going to keep a close eye. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with pound yen. No problem, Lebsy. Happy to help. Oil printing high low on the daily as well. Let me take a look. High low on daily. I'm not really seeing a high low. All I'm seeing is lower lows in terms of this structure here. Push, pull back, push, pull back. Another push. I mean, we haven't created new lows yet. It's still very sideways, but if we were to create a new low, that would just be a continuation of that bearish structure. So I'm not seeing any signs of higher lows forming unless you're talking about maybe this. But yeah, I don't quite see that. I kind of see this as a range. I wouldn't really be too detailed about the price action here because it's just very we're seeing a lot of fluctuation. I wouldn't really want to bet on that. So yeah, I'm not really seeing a high low on the daily chart. Personally, this looks pretty bearish to me, and I would suggest that price right now is consolidating. I'm kind of waiting for us to break out of that. If we can break to the downside, I'll be pretty bearish at that point in time. If we keep bouncing, then yeah, we're going to stay in the range at that point. But yeah, not quite seeing that on the oil. Okay, MD, what's up? Dollar CAD, yes, we can take a look. Dollar CAD is a pair I'm interested to trade this week. Still do have a short bias on dollar CAD. But yeah, I will take a look. Missed the long on M1. Unfortunate, Bashi. Was that on the pound yen? No problem, Anon. Happy to help. Thank you, thank you. Okay, looking at EU and G because, okay. Yeah, I mean, you're not always going to catch every trade, especially on the 1 minute chart, because if you've got your attention, like you said, on two pairs even, it's going to be difficult to have your attention on a third one as well. So yeah, it's going to be a necessary sacrifice. But the beauty of the M1 is that you have a lot of opportunities. So if you do miss a trade, yeah, it's going to happen, but there will be another one around the corner. So I wouldn't be too worried. You do miss opportunities. Yeah, if you're missing trades on like a 4-hour chart or a daily chart, then yeah, it could come back to bite you because you might not see another one until a week later, or maybe sometimes longer. But yeah, that's kind of my take on oil. We'll take a look at dollar CAD. So dollar CAD, I'm quite interested to trade this week. I would say this one's ranging as well, but I don't mind having a go around this area here, trying to capitalize on another lower high forming. You can see we've had a really aggressive move. Was that last week or the week before? I think that was last week. Yeah, last week, Monday, really aggressive move back to the lows. And now I'm essentially looking at another lower high forming in a similar fashion. Price had a high there, aggressive move down, another high, aggressive move down. now essentially I'm looking at another high forming, and again another aggressive move down, basically just continuing the pattern. So being patient with dollar CAD, this isn't necessarily the best opportunity I see in the markets. I do like pound USD a little bit more, but I'm keeping a close eye to see how we do develop here. The best opportunity I can see for dollar CAD is if we do actually get a breakout. So if price can clear support, then I'll be very short bias at that point in time and very much looking for a push back to the lows here. Because the reason why I am bearish on dollar CAD is because of what I'm seeing on the weekly chart. We've got significant resistance here, which price is having a really tough time trying to break through. And we're back underneath and back rejecting that level again. So as long as we can stay consistent with that and we don't see price break above, as long as we can reject this area, fire wicks into this area, I do think eventually dollar CAD will just fall and collapse and come back to lows here and potentially lows there as well. So I'm pretty bearish on dollar CAD. And for me, it's just about trying to find the smart entry, trying to time everything very well. If price does break to the upside, I'll rule that out. We're looking bullish at that point in time. And maybe I'll change my bias completely. But for now, I'm going to see if I can try and look for a lower high in this area. 1.384 would be the place. And if everything goes well, a push back into support, and I might try and leave some positions to run and things look really, really good. If not, I'll just wait for the breakout here and perhaps a retest. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with dollar CAD. Might be looking for entry on that hourly chart there, between the 4 hour and the hourly, see how things present themselves. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with dollar CAD. Hopefully that made sense. No worries, Anna. No worries. Didn't set alerts. I need to use my alerts. Yeah, I mean, alerts can be pretty, especially on the intraday charts. Alerts are definitely very helpful. I mean, for me, they're just helpful in terms of gauging where price is because I only enter on closed candles. So for me, it's actually timing that's a bit more important because I need to make sure I'm actually waiting for the candle to close. So I'm actually aware when the candles close. So I actually need to set not really alerts, but more like a timer to when candlesticks close. That's more so when I need to be aware. But yeah, alerts as well, of course, will help, especially if you're juggling multiple pairs and especially on intraday time frames. That will help definitely make things a bit easier. Jay Huntley, what's up? Dollar yen, yep, we can take a look as well. No problemo. We'll take a look. And I'll probably go through my watch list as well. How was my weekend? It was good. Thank you, Bashi. It was good. Yeah, I went to actually go watch a football game. It wasn't a professional, it was semi-professional. My friend was playing, so I had a pretty relaxed weekend. Hope your weekend was good as well. Refreshed, ready for the week ahead. No problem, MD. Happy to help. Happy to help. Okay, I'll go through dollar yen. So yeah, dollar yen pretty flat, and that's the main reason why I said if we're looking to trade dollar yen, make sure you're waiting for price to test the extremes, the low of the range or the high of the range. I'm not a big fan of trying to investigate and look for intricate trades in the middle of the range. That's just where a lot of noise is. Definitely been burnt many times in the past trying to look for the quick trade in the middle of a range. You know, things might look good, you might try and take advantage of something. Most of the time it's just a bunch of noise, and it's better to stay away. Not to say you can't walk away for winning trade, but again, it's about the consistency in the bigger picture. Probably not the best place to be looking for opportunities, and that's kind of where we are right now with dollar yen. So I wouldn't be looking for opportunities right now. I would very much be waiting for price to move back to the high of the range or the low of the range if I'm looking for opportunities. Everywhere else is basically noise to me. And of course, if we're looking for breakouts, then of course I'm waiting for price to break the high or break the low. That would be significant as well. But right now, it's just 50-50. I am somewhat bullish on dollar yen because we do have this very slight uptrend at play. So as you can see, we've got these higher lows here at play. and the market is, what happened there, and the market is in a slight uptrend. I do think this is just a bigger correction for price to eventually collapse, because longer term I'm actually pretty bearish on dollar yen. The way I see it, price is forming these lower highs. We've got significant support here. I do think price is just getting ready for another pullback, perhaps to form another lower high and make a move back to support. So the way I see it, I'm pretty bearish on dollar yen. I do think price is likely just to top out at some point and make a move back to lows. So with dollar yen going forwards, there could be some short-term buys to ride back to highs, perhaps to go and form that next lower high, and then we can discuss some shorts, but that's probably in the next couple of weeks from now, so we're not going to go into too much detail. But if I was to drop back intraday again, I would suggest looking for the buys at the lows or the sells at the highs, or perhaps even waiting for the breakouts, and then do you have a nice range back to the high there to work with. So that's really where I want to focus when things are ranging and things are really back and forth. You want to focus your efforts at the high or at the low, or of course waiting for breakouts of that. The middle is where all the noise is. I would suggest the pushback here would be very nice, lining up with the trend line as well, and you're still taking advantage of the current trend. So yeah, that's my take on dollar yen. Not the biggest fan of this pair at the moment, and yen is still trying to find its way in terms of what it wants to do. I would still suggest that the yen basket is still bearish, because of course the trend we've got in play, you can see the trend line showing us the consistency for all these lower highs, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. So we're very, very consistent with that, but we haven't really progressed for a while now. Since middle of July, price hasn't created new lows. So we need price to make that move, and that's probably when the yen will awaken and we'll actually see some strength or some weakness. Whether price does break above or below, we'll have more opportunities on the yen pairs and things will be moving again, because dollar yen's been consolidating for a while. CAD yen likewise, some other yen pairs are being very corrective too, and that's probably when we get our move. But yeah, just waiting for a breakout. And if you're not familiar with the yen basket, it's just the yen against other major currencies: Aussie, CAD, pound, euro. So if this does break higher, it means the yen is particularly strong against those other currencies. So you would expect the yen crosses to be moving down, and vice versa. If this is heading down, then you expect the yen crosses to be heading up. And at the moment, it's just congested. So waiting for that breakout, and then that will probably give us a bit more clarity with the yen pairs in general. But yeah, the only yen pair I do like, as I said, is definitely pound yen at the moment. And looking for some shorts for price to head lower. At the moment, still quite flat in this range here, which I quite like, because I can see some buyers and sellers getting kind of trapped in this area. And yeah, if price can run that, I do think that could be a nice opportunity for a short. Again, I don't see that happening today, but that's really where my focus is. GU just as much as well. I really like the shorts in GU, but again, I don't see that happening today either. We've just had the first move. I'm not too sure if I'll trade that on the 15 anyway. I would suggest we've got a bit more upside to give before we do sell off. That's really where my focus is. Okay, good to hear, Bashi. Good to hear. Okay, so I'll go through my watch list. I don't have many pairs on, but I do have a fair few. Okay, so as I said, pound USD, pound yen, those are the two I like the most. Dollar CAD I like as well, more so the breakout opportunity, but as I said, I'll probably have a go here if things do look good as well. So keeping a close eye on dollar CAD. I like Aussie dollar, not as much as GU. I think GU is slightly cleaner just because of the momentum we saw on the bearish move of pound. I think the pound interest rates really helped that out. As you can see, it's just a bit more aggressive, so that gives me a bit more confidence to short the move rather than something's a little bit less aggressive, a bit more corrective. But still, I like where Aussie's trading, which is the main sell for this one. Price is trading at major highs. We went through that. We came straight back below, so it's kind of a bit of a fake out essentially to the high as well. And I'm not quite convinced with this uptrend. It's really, really corrective, really tiresome. So I do think this is about to top out soon. then perhaps there's a lot more downside for Aussie dollar as well. So I'm pretty short bias with this one too. In terms of the opportunity, I've marked out the high there as an area where we could perhaps maybe pull back into. And I am looking at this corrective channel, and this looks like really tired momentum, tired price action. So I do think price at some point is putting in a higher low for price to break higher and pull back. And then I'm looking for opportunities to catch that next lower high. Of course, it depends how we pull back and how we behave, but that's something I'll be monitoring as we see candles print out and as we get more information. But that's really the idea I'm looking at. Basically, the next lower high from this move, really aggressive move, corrective move now. So now I'm looking for the pullback and then the shorts. So Aussie shorts is something I'm also keeping a close eye on. In terms of some of the crosses, I am keeping a close eye on Aussie CAD. That's had a really aggressive move back down, so I'm being a little bit more hesitant because it's not a typical bullish move, slow corrective move. Now you're expecting a push higher. It's a very aggressive move followed by a pretty aggressive move back down, which can sometimes be a bit awkward, and sometimes it's a sign of a reversal. I wouldn't quite say it's a V-shaped pattern or inverse V-shaped pattern. I would want this to stretch a little bit more, because with V-shaped patterns, I do want price to come back to the area where I did see the first impulse move happen. So for example, if you do have a very strong move up, I want a very strong move back down to get us back to that area, which would be around here. So if price does start becoming a bit more corrective, I can still see potentially a higher low forming and a nice buy opportunity there as well. So Aussie CAD is still a pair which I'm very interested in. We have a massive level of resistance which will be turned support, and that's really where the focus is. I do want us to start slowing down though. I don't want us to keep up this momentum. It's been very aggressive. So I do want us to start slowing down, becoming a bit more corrective, and then hopefully I do find a buy maybe later in the week. This will be something I'm looking at from more of a swing bias, not intraday. And if things go very well, perhaps a push back to the highs there. If not, maybe midway. I'll probably have multiple targets along the way. But yeah, Aussie CAD definitely a pair which I'm keeping a very close eye on for some buying opportunities. I do like the bounce off that low there potentially. And also Euro Aussie as well. I do like the shorts on Euro Aussie, keeping a close eye. Not quite ready yet. It was actually a nice short signal on the Zentrix dashboard. If you go to CFD trading signals, where is it? Euro Aussie, yeah, over here. Is it this one? I think so. No, that's a buy. The sell, oh yeah, the sell over here, 7875. This is the entry I mapped out with a stop loss in this area. Now, this is the same area which I'm looking for a short, but I'm not so much looking for on the hourly chart because I'm looking for a bit more of a swing trade. Price had a really aggressive move to take out the highs and then suddenly switched direction aggressively and took out the lows. So the way I'm reading that is this bullish trend is running out momentum. And because of that, we're now looking to break structure and perhaps reverse and looking basically for a lower high. So this is my area of focus between 1.78 and 1.79 really. Because of course it's acting like an area of supply, brief consolidation, aggressive move down. This is of course the move that took out below. So now we're looking for a pullback into that zone and now a lower high forming. And I'm also looking at entries on the 4-hour chart because I want to swing it back to these lows and maybe these lows here too, because that's where I expect price to eventually end up. So I'm keeping a close eye on this one. There's a nice intraday opportunity as prices move back into resistance, which is the signal the Zentrix dashboard gave. Really nice aggressive move there. I do think price can make a move back as long as we respect highs. That's the stop loss, so giving you plenty of room to hold that position. I'm also looking for the 4-hour to develop well, which is not quite there yet. At least want to see some signs of maybe a double top forming. If price can make a high, respect the high again, or maybe even consolidate and give me a strong close below, that would be something that would interest me as well. So I can take the entry there, stops above the high, target back to the lows, and we'll go from there. So Euro Aussie shorts, I quite like the look as well, and it kind of ties in quite nicely with Aussie CAD longs. I'm both looking to bank on Aussie strength. So of course Aussie CAD, I'm buying Aussie, Euro Aussie, I'm effectively buying Aussie as well, or at least shorting Euro against this. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Looking for strength on Aussie CAD, shorts on Euro Aussie. A few USD pairs I quite like the look of. Euro USD is not quite doing it for me, so being a bit more hesitant on that pair. And out of the yen pairs, I quite like the look of pound yen. But yeah, CAD yen, dollar yen, they're still kind of choppy and moving sideways. So I might take a break from those this week. Rafael, New Zealand yen, we can take a look at that, no problem. Hey, what's up, Dima? Welcome to the stream. What is up? What is up? Hope you're well. We'll take a look at New Zealand yen next. That's been an interesting one. I'm not too sure with New Zealand yen. I was analyzing this one over the weekend. I just thought I'll leave this one alone because the way I see it, it's just very, very messy. Now, we've had a really corrective move higher, and I'm still under the impression that this bullish move is probably a pullback of this bearish move here that we had early in the year. Really aggressive move down. Now, this looks to me like a pullback for perhaps another move back to the low. So that's kind of what I'm thinking with New Zealand yen. But of course, that's a longer term bias. We don't necessarily need to think too much about that. But that's the reason why I'm expecting or at least why price has been so corrective. And then we have seen some force lower, but then of course we haven't really continued successfully. We've had a really deep pullback all the way back to highs, so it's not like momentum is really bearish at the moment. It's a bit mixed. Price at the moment is kind of trading at support. Is it forming an inverse head and shoulder pattern here? Potentially, but I wouldn't say anything is high probability. So I'm not quite convinced with the shorts, and I'm not quite convinced with the buys with New Zealand yen. We're still respecting supply, so that's a reason why I'm not so convinced about the buys yet. But also, this is a very big pullback, and I wouldn't be looking for pullbacks of that size, especially after momentum like this. I want to see quick pullbacks to imply that momentum is still with the bears, and I can be looking for shorts after that. So I'm just not quite convinced with any opportunity here with New Zealand yen. And like I said on the weekend, I had a look at the pair and just said I'm leaving this pair alone. If it's not, if I don't look at a pair and an opportunity doesn't jump out at me, then it's probably not an opportunity worthwhile taking, because trades that I'm looking to take need to be quite clear and quite obvious, because it's a good trade. The characteristics, the confluences are in your face. If you have to kind of squint, tilt your head, analyze a pair 2-3 times, it's probably not a good trade. Yeah, I mean, that's the case here with New Zealand yen. So at the moment, I would suggest that as price is back at support, there's a possibility we might bounce. But yeah, I'm not so interested with taking buys here. Intraday momentum is still pretty bearish. Would I keep looking to sell that? No, not really. We're becoming quite corrective now as well. Failing at lows at the moment. Maybe if we were to have another strong break, maybe that might be a nice intraday pullback. But that's the best I can see really with New Zealand yen. So I don't have much to say with this one. Really corrective behavior. We have broken out of this counter trend line here. So perhaps we are seeing a push back to lows. But if we are going to short, I need to see convincing momentum again. And then perhaps a pullback to retest the low could look good. And then we can probably talk about the lows there. But anything else, not really interested in for New Zealand yen. A strong break of that support could provide some nice shorts, especially kind of intraday 15, 30-minute chart. Everything else very, very choppy. And again, that's kind of the story of the yen pairs. We just had a look at the yen basket. I said how flat it was. So yen's not really doing much for us right now. The reason why price has been zigzagging around is more so to do with NZD rather than the yen itself. Yen hasn't seen any overwhelming strength or weakness in the past few weeks now. If you look at Aussie yen, that one's been interesting as well. But at least here we do have a clear-cut trend. So I've been a bit more interested with the price action of Aussie yen. Of course, I did catch that move there. And I'm still keeping an opportunity to see if I can get back into some buys because the trend is still pretty healthy, still pretty strong. It's a little bit too soon for me to get into some buys now. We've had a nice correction here, but it's a little bit too flat and a bit too soon. I kind of want to see price maybe make a move up higher first and then push back down, and that could interest me. So a bigger kind of swing pattern. And then I take some buys like that, maybe coming back into this area or retesting a prior high. Of course, that's very hypothetical. We still got probably a while before something like that does form. That's kind of what I'm interested with Aussie yen, which of course is a much cleaner pair. We've got clearer trend. Something like this jumps out at me. It's a lot easier to spot. Therefore, this is something that probably might be worth trading if things can develop well. New Zealand yen, on the other hand, nah, I don't quite like it. And yeah, I mean, until we get the yen moving, we probably won't see much opportunities for. What's up, Yusuf? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. And if we look at CAD yen, you can see how flat that one's been. Hasn't quite made it back to resistance, but it is struggling nonetheless. And again, you can see how price has been moving, equal highs, equal lows. No real progression there with CAD yen too. So I would suggest waiting for breakouts before looking to take advantage of any opportunities. If price can clear the high like that or clear the low, we'll have a lot more information, a lot more clarity of what CAD yen could do next. As price is in the range, it's just fluctuation. You know, you're either looking to short the high or buy the low. You wouldn't really want to be getting involved in the middle. That's where all the noise is and all the chaos. I would want to stay way away from that. So yeah, CAD yen very, very flat too. Euro yen, I don't mind. I was actually keeping an eye on Euro yen, but because this one is still trading at sensitive areas, I don't really want to be looking for much. You can see price just taking out a major high. So this is still quite an awkward place for me to buy or sell really. So I don't really want to do much here. Is the trend going to continue? Maybe. We did have a really aggressive sell-off here, which is what puts me off. Really big candle pushing up, brief consolidation, came back down pretty aggressively. So I'm being a bit cautious of that. I still do think longer term, Euro yen is going to make it back to 175. Which is the high over here, or just above 175. I do think price can make it back there, but again, because of where we're trading, it's just a bit of a sensitive area to enter some long, so I'm staying away from that for now. Thoughts on Euro and GU15? No problem, we can take a look. I had a good weekend. Thank you for asking, Yusuf. Hope you had a good weekend as well. So Euro and GU on the 15. So I actually do like GU a lot. That's a pair I'm looking at intraday as well on the 15 for some shorts. I quite like what I'm seeing. In terms of Euro, this is coming into a very bullish area, so I'm not looking to short Euro. GU and Euro are kind of in different phases, especially if you look at the daily chart, which we'll do in a second. But on the 4-hour chart, we pull back into a nice area of demand. I will drop to the 15 in a moment. But we have pulled back into this area of demand here, where again, the market's been pretty consistent with these higher lows. 1, 2, 3. And potentially this could be a fourth. Maybe it is. We'll have to wait and see. But we're in an area where it could look to fall. And this is, of course, the area which gave us this bullish run, which created new highs. And now we're back here again. So if you're going to do anything here with Euro, it was looking to buy here, looking to sell, especially after a very lackluster move. Didn't make too much sense. But now that we've already seen this up move, I would suggest the buys have gone. Of course, if you're in the trade, great. But if you're looking to buy, I would say it's a little bit late to the party. I did suggest early in the stream that if price was to have one more sell-off back to lows, that could be a nice place for an entry. But of course, not too sure if price is going to do that at that rate. So yeah, with this aggressive move, now my interest is kind of what we do around here. This is kind of more bearish territory again. If price was to push up, this could be an area which we start to struggle and perhaps form a lower high and come back down. This is where, if you're looking to sell, where you probably would focus between 1.18 and 1.185. That would be your area. Trying to catch maybe the next lower swing high, Massive fake out there, another one. You could see a third. So yeah, it depends on your bias. If you're short bias, 1.18, 1.185 would be the area. Like I said, it's a bit more aggressive. Of course, the higher time frame trend is still bullish. We are still seeing higher highs and higher lows. You got to take that into account, of course. But if you're looking for like a trade in the 50-minute chart where you're looking to be in and out pretty quickly, you can probably get away with that and not overstay your welcome. So from a bearish point of view, that's where my focus would be. Bullish point of view, we've already had a strong reaction. I did suggest if we were to get back there again, the buy still makes sense, but I'm not too sure if we see that happening. So this is now where the focus will be. So keep an eye on some shorts, maybe some double tops coming to play. That could be a nice short. This was a really corrective move. So I think at least we're going to take up the highs there before we do continue lower, if that's going to be the case for Euro. In terms of pound USD, however, I'm pretty short bias on this one. So looking at the daily chart, you can see a very commanding bearish move. This to me just looks like a big fake out. You know, price did break through resistance here, but that to me is just a clear fake out. Aggressive move above, aggressive move back below. Textbook stuff there. Now we're back within the range. So because of the fake to the upside, I now expect price to make a move to the low of the range. Simple break, retest. Well, hopefully we can get the retest. But then a continuation back into the low will be the plan. So in terms of opportunities, what I'm looking at for pound USD is a pullback at least to this area here. Go to the hourly chart, at least to this area here. So we've taken out some structure on our left there. You know, price was really fatigued, very tired. You can see how the candlesticks were shaping, very, very tired price action. Now we've seen a breakout here. Now this is where I'm looking for opportunities. 1.354, it depends on how we pull back, of course, and how we shape up. But I do see a lower high forming and a push down. So I much rather would short pound USD than short Euro. Euro to me still looks pretty bullish, still putting in higher lows, still very much could trend higher. Pound USD, on the other hand, still looks really fatigued. And we have had a really aggressive bearish move, more aggressive than Euro. And we've also taken out structure as well. So I quite like what I'm seeing on pound USD. I don't think this short would develop until tomorrow. There might actually be some short-term buys for pounds. Maybe a nice little pullback into this area could look good. Suggest something like this, and then a continuation as price comes back above, you know, prior low there. I do think we could probably see some short-term buys, but I'm more fixated on the sells. I think that's really the move of the week I'm interested in. Something like that. Even a push to lows doesn't have to necessarily be the low of the range. That's what I do think we can eventually get to, but I'll play it a little bit steady. No need to try and force it. So yeah, that is where I'm at with pound USD. Good. What is up? I'm trading for 5 years straight in. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have done that before, to be honest. I have done that before. I've messed around with the colors of my candlesticks many a times. Yeah, I mean, of course, in terms of like the psychology behind it, you know, seeing a bearish candle makes you a bit more prone to sell, or makes you a little bit more excited to sell, and a big bullish candle vice versa. So having a black and white candlestick theme can definitely help eradicate that, make things a little bit more neutral, a bit more calm. And I've done that before. I've had grey candlesticks or shades of the same color as well. I've done black and white before. Yeah, I kind of just prefer green and red, to be honest, or like a light bluish and red. I think just in terms of my analysis, I think it just makes a bit more sense to me. But again, it's personal preference, really. I have tried it before, though. I have tried it before. And I mean, it's not necessarily such a big deal for me. I could keep it black and white, but yeah, I kind of just prefer the green and red, to be honest. But it's it can make a big change, and of course, if that's the case with you, then you know, keep with it. But appreciate the suggestion. But yeah, I quite like my green and red. Okay, also looking at the same level in GU, yeah, I'll keep a close eye on that 1.354. I think that's an area because right now we're very in bullish territory. We've just taken out that prior low. This is not really an area which I want to be selling into. I want price to pull back to me, back into areas where I know sellers will be looking to enter the market. And depending how we react and depending how we move, there might be some nice shorts to take there. And I do think there's a lot of room to the downside as well, back into 1.337. So yeah, GU shorts look really good. That's one of the USD pairs I'm focused on this week. It's between GU, Aussie dollar, which is basically the same trade as well. Looking for a pullback in towards this area for a sell. I do prefer GU though, so I'll keep them. I'll keep an eye on both of them, but I'll probably just focus on pound USD as the week continues, and dollar CAD as well. Quite like the shorts up here, or maybe the shorts on the breakout, but I'm not too sure if we do that this week. This could happen this week. This, not too sure. So yeah, those are the three USD pairs I'm interested in at the moment. Since the stream of Nick, I'm following you. Nice, welcome, welcome. Yeah, I've been streaming with Nick for quite some time now. Actually, I think maybe 2-3 years. Actually, it's been a while, but glad to have you on the channel. Hope you're doing well. And Pound Seat Chef, yeah, we can take a look. Of course, guys, if there's any pairs you're looking at, any markets you're looking to trade, or any questions, stick it in the chat and we can discuss. But and we can take a look at Pound Swiss for you, no problem. Yusuf, okay, 1.1729, but I didn't test the support on the range in the floor. Okay, I mean, good spot. I did suggest, keep an eye on the higher time frames. That could allow you to make a bit smarter decisions on the lower time frames, because everything is the same. Daily chart is just a bunch of 1 minute candlesticks, so everything has its place. So keep an eye on the higher time frame. Does allow you to filter out some of the noise of the lower time frame. So I do like that aspect, but I'll take a look at that. I mean, Euro buys made sense in terms of where we're trading, so I'm definitely not going to knock it, because coming back into this area, it does make sense. But if you didn't like how things were positioned up, you don't want to take a trade with not having much confidence. But yeah, we'll go through Pound CHF and good organized live stream of Q&A about trading yourself. Maybe, yeah. I mean, to be honest, there's literally Q&A here as well. To be honest, but I could do a stream devoted to that. But you can very much ask Q&As, ask questions here. It's not just analysis, although of course it mainly is analysis. But if you want to ask questions about trading, about the style trader I am, or what I look for, or how I look to trade myself, or any lessons, you can ask that on the stream as well. And of course that goes for everyone here too. But yeah, I could do a devoted stream to that. Okay, yeah, appreciate that, Bashi. Yeah, guys, if you join the stream, drop a like, subscribe, and hit the bell. All that good stuff does really help out. Okay, so Pound Seat Chef, let me know what your thoughts on Pound Seat Chef are, Anne. I'm not the biggest fan of Pound Seat Chef, but yeah, I mean, it's like a massive range, isn't it? That's continued since October 2022. So yeah, we've been in this pattern for a while. But yeah, the way I see Pound Seat Chef is that we've got significant support around 1.064. So that's probably where price is heading towards. And again, we'll probably look for another bounce at this point. If we do have a breakout, then the wick low there is where we would expect price to get to, which is quite convenient, because if we do see a strong break of that, we do have a nice range to take advantage of. This is the weekly chart, by the way, so I don't expect any of us really to be looking for the full swing back down there, but if we do see a breakout, we've got targets to work towards, so that's good to keep in the back of our minds for now. But yeah, the focus more so is that support level trading below us. Now I can see dropping to lower time frames that were super corrective here. I can see we're starting to form support here, but I wouldn't really be looking to try and call lows there. I would wait for us to push back to the low I just mentioned, because I know that's a much smarter place for an entry, much smarter place for a stop loss. And from there, we could see more of a aggressive bounce. I would expect more buyers to be entering the market, more sellers to be taking their profit at these areas rather than over here. So I would suggest there could be some nice shorts in the meantime, maybe a nice push back into this area, because this is all quite congested and quite choppy. So what I would suggest, maybe if we do see an up move into here, we could conveniently catch another lower high. So as you can see, all these lower highs stacked together, perhaps we can catch another one, and that could be a nice sell back into the key level, the support level. And then maybe from there, we can then talk about some buys on the way back up. So it could be a situation where we take some shorts to take some buys. Now, again, still very hypothetical. We need to see that up move first. We need to actually get there before we start talking about shorts. And likewise, we need to get there before we start talking about some buys. And maybe price just rolls over from here and we don't get the sells at all. But that is definitely an area of interest. I like the consolidation, really aggressive move down. If price can get there again, I do think that's a smart place to be looking for opportunities. And as long as we can respect the trend line, we're likely to form a lower high anyway. And then, of course, we'll investigate when price gets there for some buying opportunities. But at the moment, I wouldn't really suggest prices at a significant area. I can see we're kind of moving in this channel here. So maybe there is a bounce back to the high there. But I'd rather look for sells in line with the trend or buys at the low of really significant support. So yeah, that's kind of my 2 pence with pound Swiss. I haven't really been focusing too much on CHF pairs. Haven't really been seeing the best opportunities, but they'll turn around soon. Anyway, where was I? Well, yeah, Euro is a lot stronger than GU today. Euro is a lot stronger. Where am I from? Well, born and raised in the UK, but originally half Nigerian, half Nigerian, quarter Zambian, quarter Polish. Almost forgot my mix there for a second. Elizabeth, welcome to the stream. Hope you're good. NAS 100, yep, we can take a look. And dollar yen, okay, I'll quickly go through that one as well. Got 10 questions. Wow, someone's come prepared. Oh, you can drop in the chat, good, and I'll be happy to answer. Okay, you're pausing on pound Swiss, fair enough. Tend to swap it for gold, but then I use for GJ. Looks like, yeah. I mean, the thing is, you know, pairs will come into fashion and go out of fashion. There will be some times where pound CHF looks really, really good, and you know, you find some really nice opportunities. And there'll be some times where, you know, pound CHF is looking horrendous and gold's looking really good, and you can find some opportunities there. So there will be times where it probably does make sense to switch it up and you know, incorporate another pair, because I mean, on the 1 minute time frame, things happen fast, so you can probably afford to sit it out. If pound CHF's not going to do anything you know, worthwhile to yourself for a good, you know, couple of weeks or a month even, you know, you still got other pairs you're looking at, Euro, GU, GJ, I think. So those pairs can definitely much give you opportunities while pound CHF does its thing, and then eventually maybe the following month pound CHF looks good again. Maybe Euro's not looking so good. So you do have some opportunity there. So you don't necessarily need to force it, but you know, if you're going to switch things out, you know, make sure you kind of do it for a period of time, I would suggest, because you don't want to do it like every week or so, because then things can get quite confusing. But yeah, pound CHF and every pair, even gold, will go through some periods where things are not looking great, which is why, yeah, trading at least more than one pair, I would suggest, is a more optimal thing to do, even if you're intraday. But anyway, NAS 100. So still looking pretty bullish. Yeah, I think the best take with this one is still actively looking to buy the market, because you can see how stretched we are here. I would still be looking to buy it. But of course, I do expect a top to form. I do expect us to eventually have a bit of a sell-off. But again, I don't want to get too much into that, because you'll be trying to predict the top for a few days. Eventually, the top's going to form. I'd rather wait for the sign, wait for price to tell me, okay, likely a top's forming. And that would come in the sign of maybe a strong bearish engulfing candle on the daily, or maybe a break of structure on the lower time frame. Something like that is what I'll be looking for. But at the moment, the market's been very consistent, higher low after higher low after higher low, and we're still seeing the buyers in control. So I would suggest this is an area to keep an eye on. I actually quite like how we've had that first drop, which is pretty aggressive. So I would suggest maybe an up move, and then another move down, and that's where we look for our buys. So as price takes out the low there, comes more so into this area of demand, and if we can see a reaction upon that, I think that's a smart place for a buy. And of course, not looking for anything crazy, maybe even just a push back to the high here, or a push back to the prior swing high. I mean, that's an opportunity which I would like, because I would imagine here that all the first, buyers are rushing to the market now. We've just seen a dip lower, move lower. A lot of buyers are getting excited to try and take price higher. Maybe they're going to be successful. Maybe price, swings back to highs from here. I'm not saying we won't. But I quite like the psychology and the pattern behind it. If price can find support, push up, fail, come back down, and then that's where we get involved. And of course, you are trading in a smart area of demand as well, so you got that back into the trade too. And then push back to highs, and then we'll go from there. I think the next big psychological level for NAS is 25k, so maybe that's where we're headed towards before we have our next big dip or retracement on like a daily chart. Maybe that's where we push towards. But for now, still very, very bullish on NAS. And in terms of dollar yen, as I mentioned with this guy, things are still very, very corrective. So I'm not really so interested to trade dollar yen inside the range anyway. As I said earlier, price is just kind of in a big channel. And I am, for the most part, bullish on dollar yen. But I would only make sure I'm finding opportunities in smart areas that make sense. For example, if price was to push back down to the low of the range, well, that would be a smart place for a buy, because I know I'm at the extremes. We've got the trendline confluence there, and I know if price was to break through that, that would be a pretty strong bearish signal to me. So I would be pretty confident with stops there, that if I do get stopped out, I'll probably just in the wrong direction entirely. So I can switch my bias altogether and then look for some sales back into lows. If we do see price break to the upside and break resistance there, then of course that's where I'm expecting price to end up, and maybe some new highs. We'll talk more about that as we progress. But at the moment, we're just in the middle of the range. I'm not seeing much opportunity there. There might be some shorts back at the high at 148.8, but where we are right now is not really optimal. I know we're testing some resistance, but it's not the resistance. And in a range where things are quite congested, you want to be as high as possible, as low as possible. That's just naturally where you're going to find your best opportunities. So yeah, dollar yen, not much to say until we get to some of these areas. In here, I'm not to say you won't find opportunities. I think you will, but just not great ones. Or at least if I'm looking to trade a range, it's not going to be there. It's going to be at the high or the low, or if I'm waiting for breakouts. And you're looking for a buy. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I do think we can see a bit of a bounce, but I'd rather wait for that key weekly level of support to hit first and then buy. No problem. Happy to help. Salman, what's up? Hope you're doing good. Last week Friday talked about Euro buys around 173. That push down happened and put me off. Oh yeah, it put me off as well. Join the club, Salman. That push down put me off as well. See Euro yen now reacted from that area pushing up. What are your thoughts now? Good question. I'll go through that next, and then I'll take a look at Aussie CAD and gold on the 15 for Yusuf. What's up, Alex? Welcome to the stream, my man. Hope you're well. Yes, we'll take a look at oil US 30, no problemo. Dr. Dollar yen weekly hammer isn't seen bullish. Okay, we'll take a look. MD New Zealand dollar will go through as well. No problem, Elizabeth. Happy to help. But since I'm on dollar yen, I'll quickly take a look at that. Yeah, I mean, again, I do expect to see more upside for. I do expect to see more upside for dollar yen. I am at the moment bullish. I mean, I wouldn't say this candle is. It's not doing much for me. I know it's a nice wick to the downside. And it's taking out some of these prior lows here. So, yeah, that's a positive. But the close isn't anything significant. You know, we've been congested in this area for I don't know how many weeks, but a long period of time. And all we're seeing is just small body candles. Until we get a candle that closes with some strength, like a candle that closes up here, or a candle that closes down there, then we'll have some significance. But yes, it's a nice wick to the downside, but we're just stuck in the same range. So until we see price poke its head above here or poke its head below there, then that's a candlestick that I will have as something significant and things are changing. Perhaps we're seeing a breakout, momentum sustaining, we'll get a move. So yeah, it's a nice wick. I would say it's a bullish sign, it's a bullish indication. You know, price poking its head below, or tail I should say, poking its tail below the lows there, perhaps stopping out some early buyers, and now potentially we could continue, but we still got all this resistance to contend with, and that's the key thing that does need to break. So as I do drop to an intraday chart, you know, this is really what price needs to break, and if we break through that, then the buys become pretty sensible, because if we do break through this, then as long as we don't break back underneath, then we got a one-way ticket back to highs most likely. So as long as we stay above this, we can look for break and retest or some intraday pullbacks along the way, and then targets back up there. So that's just something I do like, that trading range between 148.5 and 150.5. Break that, I think things become they become simpler, at least in terms of analysis. So yeah, that's my take on dollar yen. But yeah, I kind of agree, but it's nothing significant, I would suggest. Okay, so euro yen. So yeah, euro yen, that candle did put me off as well, Salman. That candle did put me off as well. So it's not just you. It was a really aggressive move there. So I was not a fan of that. And I kind of backed away as well. I mean, I was looking for a bigger breakout anyway before I got the retest. So I wasn't really looking to take the break and retest just yet. I was hoping we could clear this by a bit more distance before we pull back. But yeah, really aggressive move back down. And not really how I want price to retrace. I want it to be slower, corrective. This was really aggressive, and especially after price taking out a high, that's always a bit of a warning sign there. Of course, right now we're looking pretty bullish, so yeah, it might just be a bit of a false alarm, but it wasn't optimal. It wasn't looking great. So I do agree with that. But yeah, it looks like we are finding support here, and it looks like we are starting to see some strength. I mean, this candle does still have 2 hours and 30 minutes before it does close, so I wouldn't take that as concrete just yet, but we are looking very, very strong, certainly if we can close up there. Yeah, so with dollar yen, perhaps the next pullback is what we're looking at, because quite clearly, if we are going to find support here, and if this is going to be a higher low, then what I would suggest is if we do create a new higher high, if we can pull back before getting to that resistance level, if I go to the daily chart really quickly, you know, this is the swing high I'm looking for price to get to, which is where we had the massive drop last year. That's what I'm looking for price to go and test. So if we can break the high and pull back afterwards, that next pullback hopefully looks a lot better, and that could be a nice trade, especially intraday. Maybe a retest of the high, maybe a deeper pullback. We'll have to speak a bit more about that as time continues, but this is something we could be looking at, because it looks like this is going to be successful. I'll still wait for that candle to close to really back that up, because if this pulls back and leaves a big wick, well, we're not really looking great anymore, are we? But let's say if we do hold this level, for example's sake, and we do see price go and create a new high, well, at that point, it looks like a simple break and retest that's played out. So the next pullback, which may be a break and retest as well, is something we can look into, and that 175 level is probably likely to be hit this week at that point. So yeah, the next best opportunity would be another pullback, or even a pullback into the low again. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of the pullback either, but it looks like it's holding. Again, trading's not absolutes either. It's not like every signal you'll see is going to be 100%. Sometimes you're going to see some opportunities which aren't looking quite clear or looking quite, aren't quite ticking your boxes as you would like them to. And sometimes those trades still play out as well. Doesn't necessarily mean you should be taking them, because there will be trades that tick all your boxes and don't play out. And because they didn't play out doesn't mean you shouldn't have took the trade either. So there's always that kind of gray area there with trading. But yeah, I had the same impression as well. In terms of Aussie CAD, so in terms of the bigger picture, I'm still very much bullish on this one. Lovely breakout resistance there. I have to say the pullback here as well is pretty aggressive too. So same kind of situation for Euro Yen, aggressive move back down. Not the biggest fan of Aussie CAD. We're seeing that again here. So I do want price to start to slow down, become a bit more corrective, which is what I've meant with this drawing here. Seeing a bit more zigzaggy price action, as I like to call it. Bit more corrective price action, and this level could be a great place for a long, especially from a swing buy. So we'll drop to the 15 in a moment, but this is really an area which I do like the look of. Of course, a bit of an area of demand there as well, which will add some nice confidence to the trade. But lovely breakout there, and now I'm just looking for a nice corrective move back into that support level. So this is where I'm looking to take my buys. As for the 50-minute chart, I would be focused more on the sells. We had a lot of momentum there. I do think there's more room to the downside as well. So I'll be more interested with the sells. At the moment, about to push back into an area of supply there on the 4-hour chart. So I would be looking at maybe something like this. Another move down, takes the highs out, and that could be a nice short as we recover that prior high. I would say as long as we don't take up the high here, your shorts are looking good. If price does go and take out that high, we could still see a short, but I would be quite cautious. And actually, if we take out the high there, do you think there probably would be some nice pullback opportunities for a buy as well? That might be a nice opportunity there too. Maybe a pullback into some structure. So yeah, I would keep an eye on area 0.9115. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Momentum still with the bears. Pretty aggressive move there. So shorts still look the best for me. And if this high gets taken out, I probably would at least flip my bias momentarily. Might not suggest to look for like a massive swing and say, okay, we're going back to highs, but we might see a nice intraday pullback. Maybe we might top out and then sell off, but we could still maybe take advantage of this move in isolation and then maybe talk about some shorts later on, because I can see a massive area of supply up here. We might test that before selling off too. So yeah, for now, this is where the focus would be. Let's see if we can respect that. And then we'll talk about some shorts. If we break through, then probably tomorrow we can start speaking about some longs there. And as for gold, gold 15, yeah, just a lot of momentum with this one. Lovely correction, retested that demand zone, and now since the breakout, we have flown to the upside, and of course, we've seen some new highs. Now I'm looking for 37.50, which is the next big psychological level for me for gold. You got 3K, 32.50. Yeah, 3K, 32.50, 3500, 37.50, which is this level coming up. And then, of course, you got 4K after that. So we are ticking off a lot of big levels here for gold. It's just been a lot of momentum. And I do think that is where we are headed to next. So very bullish on this one. Looking for a pullback. I do like this demand zone here. Really nice consolidation. Big breakout there. It would be nice to see price pull back into that zone, respect it, and then base some entries off that. And again, not necessarily looking for a push back to 37.50, but let's say if we do top out here and form a high there, well, that could make for a good target as well. But in terms of a zone of interest, just below 3,700 will make a lot of sense, which more or less kind of lines up with a break and retest of the prior high as well. So yeah, gold extremely bullish on. Not seeing any signs of bearish pressure coming into play, but a lovely correction, support held, more strength again. So yeah, I would just stick with the buys for now for gold. No need to try and force it. Okay, so where are we? Okay, ends the USD analysis. Okay, we'll take a look. MD, no problem. Pound USD seems like forming weekly double top. Possibly. A strong weekly bearish engulfing candle. Yep, I do agree. Dollar yen. Okay, fair enough. What's up, Lighton? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Okay, yeah, euro dollar. Okay, we can take a look at that. I'm not so keen to short euro dollar. I think pound dollar looks a lot better. So my focus is a bit more there. So yeah, my focus is a bit more with pound dollar, but essentially the same opportunity. And then we'll take a look at that as well. What time entering the GJ? Well, I don't know necessarily what time. I don't really operate with timings, but I can give you some analysis, which is of basically what I'm looking for. But yeah, I am definitely interested in shorting pound yen. Just need to look for a good opportunity to take it. I don't think it'll probably happen today. Maybe tomorrow. But I will share what I'm looking at. First, let me just go through New Zealand dollar and pound USD on the weekly. Then I'll take a look at GJ. What's up, Lighton? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Have I already said hello to you? Don't think so. Okay, so let me go through New Zealand dollar. So yeah, with this one, again, I do have somewhat of a bearish bias because we've had a really aggressive move down. Prices basically maintain that high there, 0.6, really aggressive move back into the wick high, and we've had a really aggressive reaction upon that. So if the market was going to break the high and continue to trend higher, back there, I would have expected new highs now. Basically, the way I'm looking at New Zealand dollar is a very flat market, respecting lows to a degree and respecting highs to a degree. We haven't really trended anywhere since for a while. We've had some nice bearish structure, I admit, back over here, but we have sort of put an end to that with the break of the channel. Of course, price is still respecting highs, but not in the same way as we were doing prior to that. Now my focus is what we do here, because this is still bullish territory. This is still a low which gave us new highs. This is still bullish structure at play, low, high, low, high. So now I wonder, do we find support here? Do we potentially put another higher low in? Could we see price rally? I do think we can see a bounce, but I'm not banking on price moving back to resistance or breaking through that. I do think we can see a bit of an up move, then maybe price continues to sell. And where I'm speaking about is this area here. Nice support there, kind of lines up with a prior high to our left there as well. Prior resistance should act as resistance again. I do think we're looking quite tired now, very corrective behavior with these candlesticks. So I'm not quite convinced that we're just going to keep selling. I do think price is going to find support, and we are going to see a bit of a rally there. So there could be some short-term buys at this location. I would suggest probably some stops underneath the low there just to put yourself in a really safe place. But you can see that momentum is slowing, really aggressive move down, and now we're starting to slow here. So I do think we can see a bounce and price can rally. And then we'll see what price does at resistance around 0.5914. Maybe we do top out, maybe we do form a low high. Maybe price does recover completely and push back to the high, back at 0.6. But at least some buys here look good. And then we'll speak about some sells maybe later in the week if they do set up. But this is bullish area. I wouldn't want to be looking to sell here. Absolutely not. This is still bullish territory. As long as price is still respecting support, demand there, I do think a bit of a bounce is likely. So I would keep an eye on some buying opportunities. In terms of pound USD on the weekly chart, yeah, I kind of see that happening as well. It's not kind of clear cut, but this could be your high, that could be your neckline, that could be your retest of the high, so your double top there, and of course giving you the M if we do get another move back down, and that kind of your neckline, and that's your reversal. So that could be the case as well. I'm more so focused on the price action here. Maybe it is an M pattern, maybe it isn't. I would wait for price to break support here for me to be really kind of convinced on that. Because at the moment, the way I see pound USD right now is that price has been ranging, equal highs, equal lows. We've basically just had a fake out, kind of similar to the fake out we had here. We've had another fake out there, so I kind of expect prices to pull back and continue lower this week back into this area. So that's where the bearish bias comes from on pound USD. Whether we get back to these lows, I'm not too sure or necessarily too bothered about right now. I'm not really looking for that big of a position, that big of a trade just yet. If price does eventually break this support level, then yeah, I'll speak more about that, because that's where we're expecting price to end up next if we do clear support here. But I would expect that's more of an opportunity we'll discuss maybe next week, or maybe the later stage of this week if things progress really fast. So yeah, pound USD, possibly the double top pattern's on, but the key thing I'm focusing on this week is the fake out, the convincing move we've had back in, and hopefully some pullbacks of that for some more downside. So yeah, that's really where my focus is right now. And EURUSD approaching the area which I mentioned. So yeah, EURUSD 1.18 to 1.183. That's kind of the area which I mentioned that shorts do look good on the intraday chart. Again, this is counter trend, so as I said, be careful with these shorts. If you're going to take these opportunities, don't be looking to try and hold the trade through the thick and thin. If you do see a nice opportunity to get involved in the trade, we see a nice move down, but price looks like it's forming a higher low, momentum's picking up, get out of that position, because we could very much see the higher time frame trend continue. This is still very much a bullish market, and we are shorting the top end of that. So the odds aren't necessarily stacked in our favor in this situation here, at least in terms of the higher time frame trend. We are very much up against it. Of course, we could reverse and could see a big sell, and I'm not necessarily banking on that either. The reason why I mention the shorts here is because we have seen some really nice lower highs form previously, and I can see potentially euro dollar pushing back into this area, putting another lower high in, and just having another move back into support. Maybe price double bottoms here, and maybe price eventually reverses. You know, that might be the bigger move. But I do like the idea of some shorts at this area, at least for a temporary move down. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on that. I wouldn't say we're quite there yet where the shorts look good. I would say between 1.18 and 1.84, that would be the area, but we'll get in there. Maybe New York we get there, but I wouldn't say the shorts develop well until probably tomorrow, London. So that's more of an appropriate time to look into it, I would suggest. Okay, where was we? So pound USD, euro USD. Okay, I'll go through pound yen next for worse. Like I said, I don't have a time for entry, but I'll go through the analysis for it. Lighten, we try to keep away from politics here. I mean, of course, rest in peace, but try to keep it more trading talk. Aussie CHF and Aussie dollar, yep, we can take a look as well, no problemo. Yusuf, happy to help, my man, happy to help. Bring back good price action. It sounds like a movement, FX bashing. Should get that on a t-shirt. Thiago, what prop firm do you recommend? Of course, do your own research, but I do have a prop firm of my own, Elevating Traders, which of course I would recommend. Different challenges you can check out, different styles of challenges, whether you're intraday or swing. Rules are pretty relaxed there as well. So I would definitely recommend to go and check out elevatingtraders.com. But of course, you know, you can make that that decision yourself. But of course, I'm going to recommend my own prop firm. Okay, so we'll go take a look at GJ. So yeah, I can't necessarily say what time I'm going to get into the position, because for me, it's never really about, okay, it's just gone midday, let me take a short. It's more so what we're doing and where we're doing it in. And right now, this is really the area which I'm interested in for pound yen. Euro yen is so much stronger than pound yen. Euro is so much more stronger. Pound yen is quite flat, euro is flying. I know Bashi just made that comment earlier, and it was true because euro is pushing up in pound, but I didn't quite take it in how much stronger euro is right now. But anyway, besides the point. Yeah, so 200 is kind of really where I'm looking to try and take some shorts in pound yen. We had a really aggressive move down. We broke structure and took out this low here. So I'm basically looking for a lower high in this area for a pushback down to the low. So that is my expectation for pound yen. In terms of when that could happen, that could be later today, but I don't think it will because, again, it's approaching 12 o'clock. New York's about to kick in. Maybe New York takes us there, but in terms of developing well to actually get a good entry, I don't see that. It could happen in Asian session, really. But yeah, I think in the next 24 hours, we can get a nice opportunity. Exactly when, I have no idea. But this is the move I'm looking for back into lows, and then we'll go from there. I would still suggest that pound yen on the higher time frames is remotely bullish, but it's super, super corrective. We had a really strong close on Friday. I like what I'm seeing from the bears, to be honest. So I'm going to have a short bias, at least for the next few days here, until I see something change significantly. I'm not really interested with the buys. If, of course, we have a big breakout and we see a commanding candle closing above the highs like that, that would change my bias. But until then, not quite here. So GJ, that's kind of my take for now. It's a movement for traders. Better price action. If that's a movement, I will look to participate in. Euro looking interesting today versus pound. Yeah. Let me have a look at euro pound quickly. Okay, it's not as significant as I thought it was. I thought price would be shooting. It's pulling back a little bit now. How is euro yen looking then? It's pulling back a little bit. It's still a pretty strong close, last hourly candle. And euro dollar pulling back a little bit, but of course a lot of momentum there. If you look at pound, yeah, pound a decent push there. So it's not that much stronger. I thought it was a bit stronger, to be honest. But yeah, euro is definitely stronger than pound at the moment. But in both cases, pound yen and pound USD, I like the shorts. Not quite so much with euro dollar and euro yen. I think I'll leave those two alone for this week unless something changes. Pound yen and pound USD, I quite like what I'm seeing with the short bias. Both not quite ready yet, both not quite trading at my areas. Pound yen pretty close, just hovering below. So I do think maybe the New York session will get that move higher. So I can see that happening. Maybe some early sellers getting into the shorts now, potentially look to take up those highs come New York. So I can see that happening. But yeah, I don't think I'll get the entry come New York though. Maybe I do. If I do, of course, I'll let you guys know. But if not, I think more so tomorrow morning. I've got a feeling it might set up during Asia, and if that's the case, I'll be asleep. So I won't be there to take it. But if it does, London, great. I'll be there. That's true. That's true. That is true. Euro pound can be quite deceiving sometimes. Short on the 15, Anton, New Zealand dollar. Okay, we can have a look at that one. I mean, it has been very bearish, but we are approaching areas which I'll start to back away from the shorts. As I mentioned earlier, this is a big area of demand. This is where we had a very commanding move to the upside, which gave us this high over here. So this is not really an area which I want to be taking shorts, even intraday. Even for a small move, it's just not optimal. I'd rather wait for my shorts up here if we're there. Even if I expect price to break through this area, it's just I feel a lot more comfortable shorting in areas where I've seen price selling pressure kick in, whether it's that resistance, supply, even a trend line. It's just more, it feels more, I'll be more confident with the position. So with price being here, I can see, yes, there was aggressive momentum, but we're starting to tire and we're coming back into this area. So if you're looking for shorts, I would be quite careful with that. I'm not even a big fan of the price action anymore. I can see price is still creating new lows, but we're having really aggressive recoveries. And now price is pushing back to resistance. So yeah, maybe we do react here. I wouldn't get too excited, really. Maybe you can get pushed back to the lows, but that's the best case, really. I wouldn't try and stretch that further. Again, I can't see into the future. Maybe price does dump, but again, with trading, it's all about kind of just looking at your circumstances and making the best decision possible. I would suggest this is where the buyers are looking to get in. We're already seeing some signs of that happening already. The shorts look really fatigued. This price action looks really corrective. So I'm seeing a lot of signs, a lot of red flags here for the shorts, really. So if it was me, I wouldn't be looking to short. I mean, I'm not even looking to buy, to be honest. I'm not quite seeing the opportunity for a good buy yet. But yeah, I would not be looking to try and take a short there, personally. I'm not sure what that means. Far outer specious? Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't even know that's a word. Unless you just done a little typo somewhere. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you could phrase that again, that would be helpful. So yeah, with New Zealand dollar, like I said, bullish area, I'm staying away. And the only USD pairs which I'm interested right now, Aussie dollar shorts up around there, pound USD shorts over there, and dollar CAD shorts. And even the funny thing is, dollar CAD shorts is actually me going against the bias of pound USD and Aussie dollar. Because if I'm shorting pound USD and shorting Aussie dollar, that means I'm looking for USD strength. Dollar CAD shorts means I'm looking for USD weakness, and I don't necessarily mind that, because the way I see it, it's kind of like a hedge, so to speak. So if I'm completely wrong with pound and I'm completely wrong with Aussie dollar, maybe you do see a lot of USD weakness and pound flies and Aussie flies, let them fly, and maybe I do get a short setup on dollar CAD, so I can still take advantage of that bias, which makes sense to me. The analysis checks out, and I can take the short there, and vice versa. If USD is going to be strong this week and dollar CAD does break to the upside and doesn't give much of a rejection here, you know, I will put that to one side and focus more so on shorting pound and shorting Aussie. So no matter really what USD does, there is an opportunity for me probably to take advantage of that. So I don't necessarily mind the contradiction there. So yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on those two USD pairs and of course pound yen. Those three USD pairs and pound yen. And I'll say those are the pairs I'm really focused this week. Yeah, I do like Aussie CAD as well. That's a pair I'm going to keep a close eye on this week, but I'm not too sure. I think this could take the whole week actually to set up, really. So this one's like, maybe there might be opportunity, maybe not. I like what I'm seeing. It's just probably not the focus, is not going to be here. And if I'm not sensing the opportunity that's going to develop soon, there's no point of me spending too much time on that pair, really. I'd rather wait for price to develop on the pairs that I'm actually focusing that could actually happen today or tomorrow. I can just set alerts here. Outer space is a clear word. You said outer specious though, not outer space. Unless you meant outer spacious. I don't know if that's a word. Rexus, what do you think we got all-time high, waiting for a pullback all morning? Yeah, I bet that's a pain. Yeah, I mean, with gold is just golding right now. It's difficult because if you're looking to trade gold, at least if I'm looking to trade gold, there's only one thing I'm looking for, actually, that's a buy. You know, looking for a pullback, looking to try and ride that wave. And yeah, at the moment, it's not really looking like we're getting that. So I would suggest just being patient. We have had the London session and price has made its move. So now I would wait for the US session to potentially give us the pullback. And again, it's only Monday as well. You know, this pullback might not occur till like the midweek point, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday, Friday is actually where you get a decent pullback, which, yeah, might mean a lot more waiting to do, but that could be the case. Gold right now is in a very commanding bullish run right now, so I would be very careful of what's happening and not trying to buy at the highs, because that's probably where you're going to get sucked into. So I did suggest this is a nice area to keep an eye out for a pullback. I like it. Will we pull back there? I can see us pulling back there. But again, maybe not today. Maybe not even tomorrow. It might take today and tomorrow to get us there. But I can see us making that pullback. I would suggest, let's say if we see some more strength and price breaks out again, then maybe we shift our focus towards this area. Kind of just following price as we go along. If that strength does continue, maybe we don't see the bigger pullback. Maybe this is our more feasible opportunity and we take some buys there. So my thought process with gold is that gold's still very bullish. We'll still like to see higher prices. Yes, you're right to be looking for pullbacks, right to be looking for buys. It's just a patience game. Maybe you do see the pullback, maybe you don't. It's that sort of situation really, which I know is a bit annoying, but yeah, that's going to be the case here. Gold's really just flying away right now. Lighton, I forgot you did. My bad. What did you mention? Aussie CHF and Aussie dollar. Apologies, Lighton. Apologies. We'll get to that. So yeah, in terms of Aussie dollar. So yeah, Aussie dollar quite like the sells this week. I'm looking for a pullback because I do think we're a little bit tired right now. But the way I see it, price has been super corrective on the way up. I'm not convinced with this uptrend whatsoever. Price had this big move. It's come back down pretty aggressively, back below that high. So now the plan is looking for a pullback and then more downside. I like this consolidation here, really aggressive move up. That's really where I'm looking for price to get to next. So with Aussie dollar now, the plan is, can we break out of this very tired corrective channel, pull back into an area of supply, even resistance as well. I've highlighted that high, which potentially could come into confluence, and maybe try and catch the next lower high for the next swing. So that's really what I'm interested in. This is a bit more intraday, hourly, 15-minute opportunity. In terms of the big swing for Aussie dollar, I'm not too sure. I'm not quite convinced with the uptrend, but I have marked this area as an area where maybe buyers could be looking to get back into the market and maybe try and push price higher. So if I do get to a short, that's where I'm looking to take it, basically. I'm not looking for like a complete sell-off. So I can see a bit more of an intraday outlook there, opportunity there for Aussie dollar, but I'm not convinced with the buys whatsoever. In terms of Aussie CHF, which is, yeah, Aussie CHF. In terms of Aussie CHF, this one a little bit more complex. I would say we're still ranging here. So we got equal highs, equal lows. It looks like prices reject the high very well. So at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if we do make a push back down to the low of the range. We rejected the highs very well, commanding bearish candle. Looks like we're caught in a bit of a range now, a bit of a consolidation. But I do think price is probably just going to make a move back down to the low of the range. If I'm looking for buying opportunities, it's either we're buying at the low or waiting for price to break out and then we're buying in the retest. If I'm looking for selling opportunities, it's primarily looking to sell at the highs or again looking to sell the breakouts. Not the biggest fan of taking opportunities here. I mean, maybe something like this could look good because we're quite flat here as well. You could see price maybe make a run to the highs here. You could probably base a trade there with some stops above the high, then look for a swing, kind of like a head and shoulder pattern. It's not particularly optimal because, again, we are quite choppy. So, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan, but that would make sense. But more so just treating Aussie CHF like a range, equal highs, equal lows. We're fluctuating in between the two until we get a breakout of the highs or of the lows. I'm not too sure about direction. If you do break to the upside, I'm looking for a massive swing back to here. But equally, if you do break here, we're probably just going to get back to lows at that point. So that's in terms of the bigger trajectory, the bigger move. I'm still kind of waiting for a bit more development there. But yeah, hopefully that made sense for Aussie Swiss and Aussie dollar. Okay, yeah, I'm waiting, not risking buying at the hot top. Yeah, of course. Done this many times before and ended bad. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the best way to learn in trading. Actually sticking your hand in the fire and getting burnt a little bit, because sometimes when people give you advice like, yeah, don't leverage, don't max leverage, don't bet your whole account on one trade, it makes sense, but because you haven't been burnt before, you might still go and do it. And then when you go and do it and then get burnt, you're like, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that. So I think that's probably the best way to learn trading, unfortunately, because it's a very costly way to learn. But yeah, sometimes you just got to get burnt a few times to learn. But yeah, we have come up to the end of the session. Appreciate it, my people, for tuning in for another stream. Okay, yeah, we can squeeze you in, DMAR. We'll take a look at the yen basket. I mean, there's not much to say, to be honest, so we can keep it quick and snappy, to be honest, because I'm just waiting for a breakout here. We're squeezing between support and this trend line. And depending which way we see momentum is going to really open up the door for yen. in terms of the major yen crosses. If we do see price breakout, of course, that means strength in the yen. That means the yen crosses are going to fall. If you do break to the downside, it means weakness for the yen. It means the yen crosses are going to move up. At the moment, it's still just congested in here. We're kind of just waiting for that bomb to go off sort of thing here. So I can't really say too much because, you know, if I zoom in, you know, all I can see is successive lower highs. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to break lower. So there's not much to talk upon. I wouldn't really try and look for anything inside that mess, really. So yeah, yen basket, I don't really have too much to say. I mean, in terms of targets, if you do break to the downside, we're looking for a push here. So that's pretty clear to me. If you do break to the upside here, the first target would be a push back to the high here. Of course, there's a lot of room to the upside, maybe some of these highs, but we'll take it step by step from here onwards. So that's the bullish target. That's the bearish target for now. But yeah, really congested, and I'm still quite 50-50 really with the yen basket, to be honest. Need a bit more development there. But anyway, guys, we have come to the end of the stream. Appreciate it. Thank you for all the kind messages you guys do leave. If you have enjoyed the stream, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. And of course, share it with your friends and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. I will be live again tomorrow, as always, every weekday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. UK time. So if you're free, pop in, come say hi, come chat with us here as well. If you do want to support the channel further, there are memberships where you can have some added perks, members-only videos. So if you are interested, go check out the memberships as well. But guys, really do appreciate you tuning in for another stream. Like I said, I'll be live again tomorrow at the same time as usual. Hope you guys have a great day. Don't go blow any accounts. We don't want that happening. But thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.
Six AI agents, each built with a unique edge. Miko, AI, Team Leader. Ori AI, Fundamental Analyst. XAUUSD, AI, Technical Analyst. Mesa, AI, Risk Management Specialist. Fenwa, AI Market Sentiment Analyst. And Naledi AI, the cryptocurrency expert. Together, they're engineered to protect, guide, and transform your trading. The future of trading is here. Experience Zentrix AI.